What's the problem? That music can only mean one thing. It is time for, of course, Porky Vision. As we speak, the latest edition, I suppose you might say tonight, of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here is underway. Amir Khan is in some giant tank, being assailed by all sorts of horrible, creepy crawlies and large creatures.
And having to dive down into the water.
But he seems to have made it out the top of it. We're waiting to see Ian Lee, TalkSport's Talk Radio's very own Ian Lee, but he hasn't appeared yet. But we understand he's going to be introduced into the jungle any minute now. But they've got it wrong with Ian Lee, right? Because apparently, and I'm sorry to interfere with your talk, you're talking on Porky Vision, but we'll get to that in a minute.
That's right.
But they seem to think that Ian Lee is going to go in there and sort of shake the place up and have a go at everybody and set one side against the other. He's not that kind of guy. I mean, we know Ian pretty well. He's a pretty laid-back, sort of chilled-out character.
I always found him to be a very decent sort of a chap, not the guys trying to wind people up like, many of us in our industry sometimes do.
Yes,
forget
indeed.
that we're not on air all the time, But good luck to him. I'm glad he's in there. It's good for him. It's exposure and it's good for Talk Radio.
Indeed, it absolutely is.
So I'm very pleased.
Yeah, well, as soon as we see him on there, and if it is during Porky, it should be quite appropriate. We can maybe get you to give us a little mini review of his appearance and his entrance as it's happening.
Well, as I'm concentrating on my notes here for Porky Vision, you'll see the screen before me.
I'll alert
so
you if it's the case. And just before you start, one more hello to say. Jonathan sent us a tweet. He said, "Could you give a shout out to my two daughters? I listen in the car with them all the time, and I've converted them both, and they'd love to hear their names on the radio. Emily is 11, and Izzy is 8.
Emily 11, and Izzy 8.
Izzy 8, a namesake of one of our producers.
And it's not their birthdays or anything.
No, but they just enjoy listening to us in the car.
Okay, well, can I say, Emily 11 and Izzy 8, that it's wonderful to have you as listeners to the two mics. Thank you very much indeed for lending us your ears to listen to what we have to say. And I know that because your father has taken time and trouble to contact us, you're going to grow up to be great people and have wonderful lives.
Yes, quite right too.
Excellent, well done.
Now, away you go. What have you been watching?
Well, there's only one thing worth watching last week, and that was Peaky Blinders. I mean, the return of Peaky Blinders, absolutely sensational.
Yeah, absolutely incredible.
Now,
incredible opening show.
Yeah, that's right. Can I tell you where I read the plot brilliantly? Because I'm such a fan of Peaky Blinders.
Yes.
I think I can think now a bit like Tommy Shelby does.
Is that what you think?
I do. Yeah. So in the last 10 minutes of the first episode, they're all rushing to Michael's house in the country.
Yeah, because they're all living in different houses, aren't they?
Well, just to sum it up, I mean, this is based on the Midlands because it's Birmingham. So Tommy Shelby now lives in this huge mansion on his own with his son Charlie and his housekeeper. And they're the only people who appear to be in the house. And I don't know if you picked it up in the last series. He never bought that house. He won it in a card game.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But obviously it was a very high stakes card game.
Well, you can say that again.
And it's now the family seat. But of course, it
looks like Blenheim Palace, doesn't it?
It does. Of course, he's not in contact with any of the members of the family, the immediate family, brothers and his auntie Polly.
Yeah.
Is it Polly?
I think so.
Yeah, Polly, yeah. That's right, yeah. Because, of course, he stitched them up and nearly had them hanged.
Well, they nearly got hanged by accident, didn't they? The opening sequence of the show
was very frightening.
Was just very dramatic.
But I want to go back to that because where I spotted, immediately, I know what's going to happen next, was when they were all driving out to Michael's place, which again is in the country, because Arthur, Michael, Tommy now live all in separate houses around the
with their own individual families or not.
Well, Arthur even lives in a house which has got a crucifix in it but hasn't got a gun.
Well, Arthur's wife is trying to get him away from the life of crime, isn't she?
Well, she originally wanted to emigrate to America and get away from it altogether, and won't even have a gun in the house. But what happens is, during the course of the show, we see these letters, with beautifully typed addresses, but it says Airmail America coming out, and you think, well, that must be the person who's running the Shelby operation in America in Boston, because they've got people out there. But it's not. When they open it, it's the Black Hand.
Yes.
They open the card.
The Cosa Nostra.
The Cosa Nostra Black Hand means you are dead to all intents and purposes.
Yes.
And when it's revealed that the whole family have got them, they decide, wow, we better alert each other. So they rush off to Michael's house, and on the way down the country lane, they pass a hay wain.
Yes.
This is
Is that the guy with the horse?
Exactly, a guy with a horse. A hay wain is a cart that's being pulled full of hay to feed the animals in the fields, but it's bales of hay. And as the car being driven by the Shelby family was hooting its horn, telling the guy to get out of the way and went round it, I immediately said to myself, the killers are in that hay wain.
See, I didn't spot that.
Oh, I did.
I didn't spot that.
The killers are in the hay wain. And because otherwise...
Well, this is why you do the TV review rather than me.
Exactly. Why?
There's a reason for that.
Why else would... I mean, why if it was going to be, well, they didn't get there in time to save Michael from the killers, then the hay wain would have stopped them. But it didn't. The hay wain was just moved over and they whizzed around it and went on. So the irony of the situation
that didn't strike me as odd at all.
Oh, yeah. No, I knew immediately.
I was not thinking in that way.
No, I knew immediately. So anyway, they get down to the house and Michael is
You don't need to give away the ending totally, do you?
Oh, no, I'm going to. I'm sorry.
Why?
Well, it's
there might be people who haven't seen it.
Well, I don't care. You should have watched it. So Michael gets there and he says, "We've all got these cards."
Can you
now.
not just say it's a bit of a cliffhanger?
No, it's not a cliffhanger because Michael's out on the terrace, you know, and he's one of the bolder ones, by the way, telling Arthur that, I'm going to buy you a sewing kit so you can stitch them back on.
Right.
Because of course, Arthur is quite traumatised by the fact he very nearly got hanged.
Yes.
Auntie Polly is
well,
not
you
just...
would be, wouldn't you?
Auntie Polly is not just traumatised, but...
She's gone bonkers, isn't she?
She's gone bonkers. She saw spirits when the rope was round her neck.
Also, who's the guy that lives with her? Which brother is it that lives with her?
Well, he's
or
her son. Her son, Michael.
He's been told to stop giving her cocaine, hasn't
That's
he?
right. Stop giving her
pills.
snow, as Tommy's put it. Stop giving her snow.
Right.
And what happens is, as Michael's out on the terrace with his gun, but it's a rifle.
Yeah.
But a kind of Peaky Blinders type rifle, 1925 rifle.
Yeah.
It's the only thing he's got in his hand. The hay wain suddenly comes past the garden hedge.
Right.
There's a gap in the hedge.
Yeah.
The hay wain stops. The bales are pushed off.
Right.
And two men who look like they've just walked off the set
There was at least two, wasn't there? Three.
There was more. In the end, there was about half a dozen.
Right.
But two men suddenly leapt up with what you'd call G-men Tommy machine
like
guns.
Tommy guns, yeah.
That's right, yeah, absolutely. Looked like they've just walked off the set of a Chicago prohibition-type movie. You know what I mean?
Valentine's Day Massacre.
Valentine's Day Massacre with the fedora hats and the. I
mean, they look a bit conspicuous, to be honest. I mean, if you'd seen anyone like that in the countryside of Britain at that time, surely you would have just called the cops and gone, look, there's some
You couldn't see them. They were hidden in the hay wain. That's the whole point.
No, I know that, but they had to get into the hay wain beforehand, surely.
Well, they got into the hay wain inside a barn somewhere, right? And they took the coats into the barn and put them on because they wanted the Shelby family to know exactly who was rubbing them out.
Right.
They are the sons and the extended family of the Italian mafia boss that Tommy Shelby was going to slice apart.
Yes.
He was going to take his ears off.
Right.
He was going to take his nose off.
Well, let's not forget the absolutely brutal scene in the kitchen.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
My God. I mean, I don't think I've seen such brutality on television.
Come to that in a minute. But the brilliance of this was that now we're left at the end of the first episode with at least two members of the Shelby family with holes in them.
Yeah.
Because it was filmed brilliantly so that when they opened up the machine gun fire on the Shelby family, at least two of them took off with the force of the bullets, and the bullets were going through them.
Although there's no suggestion necessarily that they haven't survived.
Well, you raised that with me, and I said I don't know anybody could survive it. I mean, they each took half a dozen bullets each, you know.
People do, though.
Well, they do, but the point is there's nobody there to save them.
No.
The scene closed as the men in the hay wain were still firing their machine guns.
That's right.
So I'm sure they're going to walk up and say, if we haven't finished them off now, they get one through their head.
And we've already been told by Tommy Shelby, I think, that these are not guys that will leave the women and the children. They'll kill them as well.
No, they'll kill them as well.
So they might go into the house and kill the women.
Yeah. But the sheer brilliance of the whole thing was that Tommy Shelby had, to all intents and purposes, resigned himself to a peaceful life. He'd got an OBE because that was part of his deal to save his family.
He'd
to save his
asked for
family.
that,
He had I've got to check this out in the plot, but he had been party to a burglary at Hampton Court. Okay,
no, you're right.
And in the burglary at Hampton Court,
some sensitive papers were
they found
uncovered.
sensitive papers relating to the king,
That's
the
right.
current king in 1925.
Well, that was how they managed to stop the hanging, wasn't it?
This is precisely it. So he made these papers available to the judiciary.
Yes.
The master of the rolls was called out of his bed in the middle of the night and said, "You've got to stop the hangings.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Tommy Shelby is going to reveal these papers which show that the king has been getting up to all sorts of things which the country
And we still don't know what those are,
No,
do
we don't. The country cannot possibly know.
Yeah.
And Tommy pushed it even to the point where he said, "You've got to save my family, but I want an OBE as well. Otherwise, I'll make sure that the newspapers get these papers."
Yes.
But you're absolutely right about the brutal scene, right? So Tommy's sitting there in his house, to all intents and purposes. Now, what's going to happen later on in these episodes, by the way, is that Tommy's now up against a union convener.
Yes.
In one of the factories he runs. But when she comes in, and she's very glamorous and very strident, and she says, "You didn't expect me, did you, Mr. Shelby? You know, but I'm telling you, you know, you're not getting away with paying women less than paying your men." It's a very modern sort of argument, really. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
And he says, "Well, it's a different factory that you're talking about, where the women get paid less."
Yes.
She says,
well,
still
famously, she came up to see him and then complained that there was no women's toilet on that floor.
Yeah. So she used the men's
because there are no
toilets,
women in that area.
And she said, "But you own that factory." He said, "What?" She said, "Yes, it's under that name, and you also own that factory. You own that factory. You own half the factories round here. You know, it's part of your colossal empire now. You can't fool me."
And this is his legitimate business, right?
Legitimate business. But you can tell before the end of this series, clearly, Tommy Shelby and this woman are going to have a love affair or some sort of physical intercourse.
Yes.
Yeah. Without
family show, this, you know.
Yeah, it's a family show. That's why I call it, of course. Yeah, but that's definitely going to happen.
No.
Now, where the whole plot changes.
Are we going to do any other shows, or is it just this one?
Well, there's nothing else worth doing as good as this.
Really?
So I might as well tell everybody about this.
Well, you're going to tell everybody the whole plot.
Now, where it all
changes
is when Tommy's sitting literally almost in his throne in his office at his mansion.
Yeah.
And the housekeeper comes up and says, because it's Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
She says, "I'm sorry, sir, to bother you again, but the chef really would like to know what time your guests are coming tomorrow."
That's right.
Tommy's now so lonely and isolated in the world. The only people coming to his Christmas lunch are gypsies, travellers, who live on the edge of his estate.
Right.
Because he, of course, comes from gypsy stock.
Is this before he asked his family to come, then?
He doesn't ask the family to come.
But he does at some point in the show.
No.
He does.
No, let me tell you this.
Yeah.
He doesn't ask them to come to Christmas. He asks them for a meeting on Boxing Day.
Yeah, I thought he asked them to come for Christmas.
No, he doesn't.
Sure?
Certain.
All right.
He asks the group of travellers who live on the edge of his estate, with his compliance, to come and join him for Christmas Day, okay? So the housekeeper comes up and says, "I'm really sorry to bother you, sir, but the chef really would like to know what time you want dinner served tomorrow." He said, "Well, just time to get it ready, and I'll give you the word when I want to
But that's when he works out there's something afoot.
Well, she says, he'd like to know, will it be before or after the King's message?
Yeah.
And then Tommy gets suspicious and thinks, why does he need to know this? I don't understand.
Yeah.
So he says, "Who is the new chef?" And she says, and he says, "What nationality is he?" She says, "He's Italian."
Yes.
So he's Italian, is he? I see. And he's had the Cosa Nostra Black Hand.
Yeah.
So he goes downstairs in the kitchen.
He smells a rat.
He smells a rat immediately, right? Now, he finds, first of all, the chef's assistant.
Yeah.
The chef's assistant is a much younger man, and he's peeling potatoes. And Tommy says, "Are you happy in your work?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Really? A commie chef peeling potatoes, happy in your work?" And then he puts his hand in his pocket and he gives him a £10 note. And the guy says, "What's this?" He says, "It's just Christmas tip, you know." He says, "Oh, right, thanks." Puts it in his pocket. Now, he then reveals later that if you give a commie chef in those days a £10 note, he'd be on his hands and knees licking your boots because it's equivalent to a month's pay.
Right.
You know.
So this gives the thing away that he
But
may
the guy
not
never
be
even
entirely,
reacted.
may not be entirely as he's supposed to be.
Yeah, so then he goes into the next kitchen and he gets the chef by the throat and says, "What's going on? You know, do you know what's going on?" And eventually the chef admits that he was told to employ that bloke by a master Italian criminal in Britain.
Under pain of death.
Under pain of death. So Tommy says, "Call him in." So the chef is then very flustered, but he realises he's dealing with Tommy Shelby. So he calls him in. Tommy's waiting behind the door with a meat hook. As the man walks through,
shocking scene, this.
Tommy swings the hook and garrots him.
Yeah.
He gets him just below the neck and the shoulder and is swinging him around on this meat hook, and he kills him without a shadow of a doubt. No, well, I'll tell you how he kills him.
Well, he doesn't tell us how he kills him.
No, it's great.
No, it's not great.
He rips his shoulder apart.
Why is it great?
And then he pulls his gun out.
Why is it great?
Well, because, it's
not great.
It's fantastic drama. He pulls his gun out.
Well, it is if you haven't seen it.
He pulls his gun out.
It's not drama anymore.
And he says...
He's giving it all away.
And he's got the bloke's face down on the meat table.
Yeah.
And he's holding a gun at his head. And he says, "Right, who told you to come here?" And the guy says in Italian, "Get lost." But offensive words, which mean get lost.
Indeed.
And he says to the chef, "What did he just say to me?" And the chef interprets it. So Tommy blows his head off.
Yeah.
And it's the most dramatic scene where all the blood and gore goes over Tommy.
It's a family show. You don't have to go into it.
Yeah, that's right.
Johnny B has tweeted us in. He says, you might as well change Porky Vision to Peaky Vision.
Yeah, well, it is.
Well, I think you're thinking of giving away too much.
Yeah. No, I'm not giving away too much.
You're giving away all of it now.
No, because I've watched...
When's the next episode?
Tomorrow night, Wednesday.
Is it Thursday?
No, it's Wednesday. It's on a Wednesday night. Yeah, definitely sure. Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
All right.
Now, it's so brilliant now. You think, how can the Shelby family survive?
Yeah.
There are at least, and he says, by the way, during the course of the development of the plot, when he realises Gosling is after him, he says, these guys work in groups of 10 at a time.
Yeah.
So he's under no illusion about what they're up against, right? And he's already lost 2 of his top men, I think. I can't see how they can survive.
No.
The
well, how many parts is the show going to be? Is the series going to be?
I think it might be 8.
8 parts. Well, I'm sure they've thought of a plan.
Yeah. At the meantime, Arthur, of course, don't even have a gun at home. If they go after him, he's had it. Except he's purloined a gun off Tommy's sister, who's come home from America for Christmas, right?
Here's one from Hooded Kojak. It says, Porky Vision, I've lost the will to live.
No.
What programme is it you're talking about?
Yeah, it's
And Blaze says, how long is this Porky Vision going on for? A rare low point for what is usually non-stop entertainment.
No.
I think you may have chosen the wrong show.
No, definitely not. Honestly, everybody will be absolutely excited to hear what I've to say.
Well, I don't think they are.
You see, I interpreted a bit there that you didn't even see.
I'm going to have to call a halt to it, I think.
Did you not even know that the killers were hiding in the Hayway?
Well, I knew they were hiding in the Hayway when they came out of the Hayway.
Yeah, but when the car overtook them on the way to the farm, you never suspected.
No, I didn't.
See, I did.
Well, then, good for you.
This is the brilliance of it. I can read the Peaky Blinders now brilliantly.
Yeah, well, I don't think we should now ban any mention of Peaky Blinders.
Guess who will win at the end of this war?
Peaky Blinders is the new Beatles.
Guess who will win at the end of this war between Tommy Shelby and the Mafia?
Tommy Shelby. Well, of course he will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's the star of the show.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. That was Porky
Cillian
Vision.
Murphy was in this very building.
That was last week.
That was last week. This is brilliant stuff.
I do apologise on behalf of
really
the
inspired.
Porky Vision producers.